Hey friends, Alicia, author of the books Don't Be a Stranger and Don't Be a Stranger to Grief, and now working on book number 3 of the series. I'm specifically reading to you today from Don't Be a Stranger to Grief on writing what is called a release with love letter. To release feelings of grief around any loss. And this could be a loss to death, but it could also be a loss of relationship. It could be a loss of a vision you had for a life you thought you would live. It could be the loss of perceived innocence, a loss of a childhood, a loss of really truly anything, a cherished, valued thing, object, vision, hope that you had for life that is no longer seeming a possibility, and how to process the feelings around that. So I'm going to share with you I'm going to jump around, I'm going to share with you a couple passages. By the way, I really love the hardcover version of this book. It's not too much more expensive on Amazon, but I recommend it. It's just so nice, both to hold, to see, but just really great quality bindings. Just wanted to give Amazon a shout out there. Okay, so why learn to release with love? Simple. To have peace and to feel that you are living a life of purpose. Release with love to recognize your pain as not wasted. Release with love to interact with the world with greater kindness and gentleness. Release with love to lead with light. The Release with Love letter template is designed to help you acknowledge hurt and grief as reminders of a wish you once had and perhaps still do. Allow your letter to inspire steps toward fostering meaningful relationships and a purpose-driven life. Your wish still may come true, simply by way of a path you had not planned for. I have avoided reference to research and technical concepts in this text. While credentialed as a board-certified behavioral and cognitive psychologist, I consider myself an empath. As an empathic healer, I support my clients intuitively. I listen deeply and I draw on innate abilities to trust, know, and heal. I develop interventions instinctively based on what is present at the moment. And my intuition has been defined by Psychology Today as a faculty in which hunches are generated by the unconscious mind, rapidly sifting through past experience and cumulative knowledge. The gift of inner knowing is present in all of us to varying degrees, and I apply my gift to the therapeutic process, collaboratively guiding clients and others to interventions underpinned by the science and research of psychology theory and principles of interpersonal therapies. And I created the Release with Love letter years ago with a veteran who was struggling with unresolved grief. He had lost a dear friend and was haunted by many regrets about things he wished he'd said, had done, and time he wished he could get back. So I'll skip a little bit past this, that I ended up basically creating the Release with Love letter in the moment with this veteran, and it was so powerful as a healing exercise that I have gone on to use the same template that I provided him as we went through this exercise with hundreds, possibly honestly thousands of people since then, because it's now been well over 10 years. So, since witnessing the magnitude of relief that veteran felt after writing the first ever Release with Love letter, I have adapted this exercise with countless others. It has been helpful in the treatment of many of our nation's veterans, young and old, who have experienced immense and tragic loss. The exercise has been adapted to support clients overcoming depression and anxiety, those overcoming serious medical illness, those experiencing amputation and end-of-life conditions. I've adapted Release with Love letters among those undergoing relational loss, including divorce, breakup, major moves and job changes, abortions. Letters have been comforting for those embracing evolution around identity and sexuality. And I have even found great value in applying the intervention with entrepreneurs and pattern partners in my anti-aging skincare business as we uncover barriers to success, such as fears of failure and judgment, frequently rooted in memories of self-doubt or criticism. Skipping ahead, as James Baldwin said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Sadly, some feel that life is no longer worth living after loss. We may feel guilty, smiling or laughing as though this would detract from the significance of those lost. We may be grieving a life we'd envisioned, a marriage, a child, a parent, a sibling, a friend, a breakup, or an identity that is entirely different than previously imagined. I'm here to remind you that life still has a purpose, and you are still very much wanted and needed. Those no longer with us live on through us and the legacies they leave behind. And we get to decide in part what that legacy means for us, and our lives can change tremendously from that decision. skipping ahead to chapter 2, the elegant simplicity of the Release with Love letter intervention may surprise you. I aim for this template to be thorough enough to capture the pattern of primary emotions typically associated with grief. It is designed to keep you positively focused, promoting resiliency and connecting purpose to pain underlying grief. The intention is for anyone going through grief to be able to repeat this exercise on their own, adapting it as their grief transforms over time and with unique loss. Consider the Release with Love letter an adapted form of journaling that helps to retrain your mindset around loss. The more of the Release with Love letters you write, the more you will habituate the process of directing your pain as a catalyst toward purpose-driven change and healing. And finally, I want to make a special note about the commitment section. Let's see if I can quickly skip ahead to that. There is a section, so the way the Release with Love letter works, it's Dear X, and X could be a person, X could be a time of your life. Dear self at 13 years old. Dear self after I went through blank trauma. Dear person who is lost. Dear self after my move to whatever place, right? There's so many ways you can do this letter. What I love about you most, what I admire about you most, or what I have admired about you most. I don't have the letter in front of me to remember all the sections in order, but there's what I remember most, what I regret most. And it kind of walks you through a few prompts like that. And the most powerful part of the letter is the commitment section, which is in your honor, I will. So I refer to this, I will honor you and your memory section of the letters, the commitment section, and I might argue it's the most important of them all. Because it's where you capture turning those regrets, those missings and longings into purpose-driven goals for the future, where you choose how to be intentional moving forward to bring those into the rest of your life, to live without regret, to live a life, or I should say live a life of less regret. It is one section that captures your intention to honor every moment and every experience moving forward as meaningful. This is where you get to connect your pain to purpose. Consider how your experiences may shape you moving forward. What are you inspired to be more or less of? Perhaps you'd like to be less like someone who hurt you by being more respectful, loving, and emotionally present to those around you. Perhaps you want to be more generous, expressive, active, adventurous like someone lost. Perhaps you'll commit to honoring self-care and mental health, to honor someone who missed opportunities, to prioritize this. The commitment section of each Release with Love letter is the section that calls you to decide how you will allow the effects of your loss to define the rest of your life. It is where you affirm that your loss will not be in vain. When completing the commitment section, refer to what you wrote in the wishes and regret section as this is helpful and meaningful in connecting your pain to purpose. Your wishes and regrets often inform what you commit to affirming more of. If you regret not saying I love you more, commit to telling loved ones regularly today and in the future that you love them. If you wish you would have called or spent more time with someone gone, commit to spending more quality, uninterrupted time with people in your life today. And the idea is to move forward toward living with less predictable regrets. And I will add, it is really critical to be very specific. So you don't just want to say, I'll do more of this. You'll want to say, I will do this on a weekly basis. I will send a loving message on a daily basis. I will go to this particular event or a comedy club in honor of that person's sense of humor on a quarterly basis. In other words, when you provide the time frame, it comes from SMART goals. So if you're not familiar with SMART goals, Google a concept. But it's about goals that are specific, actionable, like you can see, tell when they happened. Like just saying I will love more isn't a measurable goal. Well, what does that look like? Your definition and my definition will be very different. What will that love look like in action? So I will love more by sending a text every day telling someone something I love about them. Now we're on to something. I will send an email once a week to somebody telling them what I respect most about them and how they've impacted my life. That's now measurable. That's identifiable, right? It's a clear goal. It's got a specific deadline. It's got frequency. Once a week, I'll know when it happened. 10 people looking at my life will be able to say yes or no, she did that with you. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and kind of close it out, but I do want to suggest, so in the book, the first half is really dedicated, really the first third is dedicated to what is a Release with Love letter, a little bit on the background, and then how to write one, the steps to how to write one. And then the second half of the book, really more than half of the book, is dedicated to example letters because they all look different. And I personally am inspired every single time I write a love letter with someone and like we read it back. And the most typical response after I read back a person's letter is just wow, speechless, and sometimes moved to tears. After writing the letter, I often suggest also consider doing some sort of a ritual. That ritual could be like some sort of a safe cleansing. Some of my veterans have safely burned their letter. They read it out loud and then they burn it again in a very safe way. Be sure not to, I don't want any like horrible incidents happening, but it could be burying it. It could be reading it. I've had a patient read their letter at a funeral and share it with everybody that was present, which gave a lot of peace to the family as well who was present. So there's so many different ways to honor the letter. You don't have to keep it, but I do recommend after writing your letter that you read it for at least a few weeks in its entirety for the first 1 or 2 weeks, and then ongoing. That commitment section, email it to yourself, take a picture of it, read it every day if you can for months. Create a mantra around that commitment section of how you will choose to live your life differently in honor of what is lost, in order to see that it was not lost in vain and you are a different person because of it. And you are going to make that difference, one that calls you to your highest self. And that makes you the best version of you, whether it is to be nothing like whatever hurt you in the past, or to be more and more like the parts of the past that you miss and long for. Quick little example for me is my father, my dog. I've lost them both now, and they were my favorite beings in the universe. And they are forever markers that remind me to be more gentle, be more playful, be more kind, be more positive in life. To play, to, Kaylee, my dog, even though she didn't talk, she had this adorable little curious spirit about her. Like her eyeballs were always like big, and her attention was always really like discerning. She was always just very hyper vigilant to everything. And to me, that felt like a curious spirit. And so even mothering Kaylee is a reminder to me to always remain curious. And so, that plays out with strangers, right? Showing curiosity about the people that I am blessed to meet, whether it's for a moment or a lifetime. So think about what that would look like for you. Who would you write the letter, release with love letter to yourself? Would the letter be to yourself? Would it be to an earlier version of yourself that you're honoring, or perhaps versions of yourself you're shedding? And then consider getting the book. Taking a look at the template for the letter and actually writing it for yourself. And again, I really recommend write it more than once. Write more than one letter to more than one self, version of self, person, or energy that is lost. Because the more and more you write it, the more you'll get in the habit of even just living your life, looking for signs of what you can honor from things that are both positive and as well painful. All right. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Saying goodbye from Cosmo.